Hello, everyone. Welcome to Room B. This is the L&D download, and our first presenter is Lisa Goldstein, and her presentation is going to be on VR for live virtual classrooms. Lisa, take it away.
Just making sure you can still hear me.
We can.
Awesome. Thanks, Liz. So, welcome. I'm really excited to be here, and I saw a few names in the chat. Some good friends from learning, and it's been so long since so many of us have been together, and I'm sure you can all relate to in your worlds. Everything has gone virtual. In that switch to virtual, where we're missing sometimes being back in person. We've learned a lot of lessons. And I have a slide I just want to throw up here and share with all of you so that you can see. I'm sure that this is going to resonate with all of you as you think about what has it been like when we've gone virtual and used a lot of tools like Zoom or Microsoft Teams to interact, and what does that mean for how we connect with our people. And there's so many things of what this means for us. So if any of you have done virtual learning in the way that we have here at Accenture, if you have more than 5 people in our world, Accenture is a big place. We have 700,000 employees at Accenture. So as you can imagine, a lot of our trainings end up being good sized. So for me personally, I will host master classes for senior leaders where we have 50 people in a virtual type of um, activity where that used to be in person. We used to get together. And when we would do that, so you can see on the left hand side of the screen, sort of this idea of like when we were together in person, all those moments that you make connections with people. You make those connections, as you're getting settled into the classroom. It's just there's something special about seeing the people that are in front of you. Every time there's a coffee break, meals, lunches, dinners, all of it, you have all these connection times. Then we found that when we were in the virtual space, or coming over here towards the top right part of the screen, um, we found that um, the way that it felt was there's always one microphone. One person is speaking, and just like here, you've got all sorts of chat, on the side here, so you can have conversations on the side as well, right? So you all can be pinging me and say interesting things like, "Where are you from?" So seriously, like, "Where are you from?" Tell me where you're from in the chat, because it also creates that sensation. Type that right now, because you can kind of see what it's like. One person's talking, you've got some conversation happening on the side chat. I know my friend um, Meg Bertapelli is here. So, like, I know Meg's over there in California. We've got all, sorts of people here. So, but what happens is because you have one microphone, it becomes a very, could be like there's an attempt to be efficient with time. So we're cramming in as much as we possibly can. But because you have one microphone, you you lose some you get some inefficiency from the perspective of you can't have a lot of conversations happening all at once. Now, when you switch to VR, so now we're getting down to that second half of the right hand side of the call. Now you're in this VR space, which I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a minute. But what's really interesting is that you no longer are struggling with a single microphone type situation, because just like in real life, if right here were literally with me and there's like four of us right here, and I turn to one of the four and we're having a conversation, the other two kind of scoot over just a little bit so that they're not right in our ears. They're having a conversation and they have the ability to go back and forth and having a conversation and not interrupting my friend that I turned to and had a conversation. It's the same thing in VR. So let me show you what that looks like. Let me give you a little tour here. Um, so this is a space that we set up, and see those red circles on the ground a moment ago. You'll see them again. The idea is that we made these red circles so that to sort of show the idea that if you are together with in or around that red circle, so you're close enough to hear each other, but far enough away from everybody else. And VR is new for us. We've only been doing it for a handful of months, and it is explosion. We're doing a ton of it. All of a sudden, it's catching fire. And the reason why is because it it it's like this new thing. It's this new tool that allows us to have really efficient breakouts. We have a stage here, so you can see the stage right here on the right side of this video. So someone gets on stage, and I don't like a lot of time in VR. I like hybrid. So it's this idea that some of your stuff still happens in Microsoft Teams. Whenever you have somebody who's going to be filling your head with really important information for a decent amount of time, like 30 minutes or so, do that still in your standard stuff like Microsoft Teams. But then you come into the space where you still have a stage, you still have an ability for somebody to get up on stage, and when you're on stage, everyone can hear you. So it's a spatial audio thing, right? So if I was just standing in the middle of the room, you couldn't hear me. But if I was on top of stage, now everybody can hear. And there's also these microphones that you can pass around, which you'll see in this video in just a minute. That also allows everybody to be heard no matter where they are in the space. But anyway, this idea that somebody could go on stage and say, okay, remember, we just got done talking about this concept in Teams. Don't forget, maybe there's like a slide or two that says, don't forget, do it like this, but not like that, some tips or whatever. They're like a framework. And then we have a scenario. So there's TVs and other screens around this space where we can put up a scenario and say, okay, now you're going to be working with this client. Here's the scenario. Here's the, challenge. Use the framework we talked about to solve this challenge. Now get together in your groups, self-sort into these spaces and have a conversation. Now, how would you solve for that problem? There's so many tools that we can use. We're just showcasing one of them where you can here's what it looks like. You can draw in 3D. You're not limited to just a single whiteboard. There's so many things that can be done. There's also all these interactive things. So see these basketballs. You can literally play real basketball with your friends. There's cornhole. There's paper airplanes. There's fireworks. You can invent whatever you want, in this space where so as you're solving problems together, maybe you solve them on the basketball court. So this is a really really interesting way to have meetings. Now there's so much to talk about. I know you must be curious. I could talk about this for hours, but I want to know what you want to talk about. So can you throw it in the chat? I'm new to this technology. I don't know if people can come off mute. I don't know how it works, but start throwing some questions in the chat. Where do you want me to go next? What kind of questions do you have? Because I could go into more of the why does it matter. I could go into what tools do we use? How do we do this? How do we structure it? What do you want to know next? How have people received this new setting? People love it. Okay, I'll tell you some funny stories. That was a good question. Thanks, Elmira. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. So it's we have so many of these classes where it's the first time they've experienced VR. We get a lot of first timers, and it is so fun to see the first timers. And I have heard them like while I was in VR. I have been in person with them in like big ballrooms where we've brought in leaders to, try on the headset. So I see them in person. We've done it where there's teams are on so I can see them, so sometimes it'll be just like this, but they have their goggles on and you can see them throwing the basketballs and they have huge smiles on their face and they love it. But the best comments I've heard are from teams that I'm familiar with that have been working virtual for the last few years, and they say, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I just met Amar." And it's so funny to me. I laugh, I chuckle to myself because I think, but you see him on camera all the time in Teams. You see him. What do you mean you just met him? But they feel it. Uh, our brains are tricked by VR to feel like it is more real. So you feel like you're with people. People have said, um, I feel like Accenture just flew me somewhere. This is amazing. Look at this big, beautiful space. They're looking up and around at all the beautiful, glorious settings that we created for them. Um, and we use AltSpace VR. And AltSpace VR is like Minecraft. I don't know if you've played it, you've seen your kids play it, but it's Minecraft from the perspective of you just pull elements out, everything you see. So like those signs, they're just images from a PowerPoint, a screenshot from a PowerPoint. The little paper airplanes, you grab it out of a library and you position it in a 3D space of where it lives. So somebody grabs it out of the air, can throw it, and I think it's like 30 seconds later it respawns in its original placement point. You can see here, you can do it, cool interactive things. See, she's eating that marshmallow. She took her stick, she stabbed a marshmallow, she roasted it, and then you can eat it in VR. So that's a lot of fun. Now, a lot of people do get motion sickness. So we do manage that. So there is a 2D version of this as well. I'll drag that over here for a second so that you can see what that looks like. And so if people do get motion sickness, then we sometimes will suggest trying out the 2D version. So I'm putting my 2D version on top of my video here so you can take a look at that. So this is loading. And so other kinds of lessons learned is that you can wear your glasses inside of the goggles. That helps a lot. Um, and for me personally, I have two prescriptions for my eyes. So I find that my glasses are pretty important because what I probably get like a little extra motion sickness sometimes compared to others because of that. So it's really helpful that you can wear um, those glasses inside of the experience. So there's all kinds of worlds that can be built in this space. Actually, instead of showing you this, I should show you. This is where we take a lot of our new joiners. So a lot of times when new people come into Accenture, they had this sensation over the last few years that they feel like, oh my gosh, this first week, this first month, this first year, here I've been working virtually. I haven't seen another person's face. I don't even know what our offices look like. I don't know, what experience is like. By the way, we've made digital twins of many of our offices, which means you can go to our San Francisco or LA offices and you can see what they look like and you can walk around, and they've done such a nice job with the experience that, and by the way, these are real live people in here, so I've muted myself so that they don't have to listen to me talking to all of you. So this is where new joiners will meet. They'll bring classes of people into this space, and then they come through this hallway and they come out to this big, beautiful space. And this is so cool because we'll gather here with new joiners to talk about the company. This is one piece of the experience. Not everything happens in VR. We still have all of the other pieces. Again, VR, we find it's especially good for all of those moments where we want to help people to feel really connected. Now, this is a big space. This is a multi-level space, and this is like our virtual interactive map that can take you to interesting places. So I'm waiting for the beach to pop up here, so that I can take you down to the beach. Anyone see the beach? Oh, the beach is probably down over here. So we'll wait for it to come up. Anyway, let's go here. Okay, not the beach, but still extremely cool. So we've got this interactive map. There's so many places that you can learn about different things. So over here we have the fishing pier. Fishing like emails, and people will learn about staying secure so that you don't fall for all the phishing scams. This place is huge. It would take at least, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour to really look around and see everything and appreciate the space. I'm going to speed things up by teleporting here for you so we can get to our place faster. I'm going to sneak out through here, which is one of my favorite places in VR to kind of come and hang out. So if you're kind of craving hanging out at a beach, sometimes now me recently moving to Florida, I'm a little bit spoiled. The beaches are close to me, but it is kind of nice to, not only can you come to VR to learn and to socialize, but now you can come to VR for a vacation and just hang out on the beach. So a lot of fun. All right, I'm going to look at your questions and see what else we've got going on here. Okay, what lessons? We did that. What does the orientation to VR consist of? And how would okay, so we do this program inside of Accenture where we call it Project Avatar, and people sign up. Right now, we're doing that as an elected activity instead of forcing it on everybody. Plus, we don't want to ship everybody in the company in Oculus and then it not end up getting used. Um, and so they get an Oculus. Then we put them through a whole bunch of suggested activities to help it get going. Does it have sound effects? Yes, lots of that in there as well. So once they receive their headset, we give them all sorts of things of how to get started. We also offer a really nice service that, in addition to all the help guides and videos and things that they can do to help get themselves set up if they get stuck on anything, we have a 24 hours, 5 days a week. We're a global company where individuals can join a call and say, "Oops, I'm stuck. I can't quite figure this thing out," and we get them going. We also have these like missions of getting them excited about these different kinds of examples. We have, you've heard of IQ. Well, for technology, we have TQ. So we have a TQ cafe where people can go and learn about cloud and 5G and all sorts of really interesting information. I'm going to pause for a question. Exploration driven. Oh, Liz, how many minutes do I have left? 3 minutes. Okay. All right. I'm trying to read through your question. What platform? We did that one. Alt space. Just get comfortable. Um, did that. Uh, Cost. Great question, Noelle. So it's so interesting. This did not used to be so accessible because headsets used to cost a lot. We now use the Quest 2 headsets, which right now there's 2 versions. The most expensive one, I believe, at the moment is 399. The cheaper one's 299, and that's more about like space, hard drive type space on these headsets because the more apps and things that you download, the more it takes up. We've been using the larger hard drive space just to make sure at no point in time does anybody run out of space. But for 399, it's suddenly becoming very accessible. I can't speak to the cost of Altspace VR because I'm not involved in that part of the discussions, but it is a Microsoft product. Another one to keep an eye out for. I know Microsoft is also coming out with Mesh, which is also a little bit more advanced and exciting product. All right. Any other questions? Scrolling down to the bottom now to see. Headsets are just one piece, right? Yep, headsets. And then, so if you want to do this for fun, even on your own time, I'm a big fan of, things like Supernatural and different apps where you can Beat Saber, where you can work out in VR. Of course, YouTube has an expansive 360 video library. So if you want to go skydiving or scuba diving or see interesting parts of the planet or go to a concert that you haven't been able to get to, there's so many things that you can do in the VR experience. And I think that it's kind of up to us to start inventing, what does it mean? What else can we do in VR? So I think that's important for us to keep thinking about. If only we could, whatever, let's figure all of this out together. What else? How am I doing, Liz?
I think I was going to say, as far as questions go, if anybody has any additional questions, Lisa will be available once the session is over. So everyone can find her in table 1 in the lounge. There will be a 10-minute break between sessions. So if you have any questions, and I did see that there were some more in the Q&A. So I'm not sure if you answered those yet. So you can definitely ask for those questions at that point. And as far as that goes, I think we will move on to the next presentation. Did you have any last words, Lisa,
I have a question. When we go and hang out in the lounge together, will I be able to hear others?
Yes. So it's an awesome function that AirMeet has where you join a table and it basically looks similar to this where there's cameras and everyone can actually talk with each other and interact with each other and chat.
All right.
So yeah, so
I'm
everyone will
looking
be able
forward to
to,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. See you
definitely.
all soon. Can't wait to hang out.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
You're welcome.
All right, up next we have Anthony and Molly. They actually work for TorranceLearning, and they started a book club, and they're gonna actually talk about it today. Their session is called "So You Want to Start a Book Club." Anthony and Molly, you can come on stage now.
Oh, there we go. Didn't realize I had the camera turned off. Hi, everyone.
Same.
You good to go, Molly? We're having tech issues in Chelsea today. So Molly actually, in the time that Lisa started her presentation, Molly drove from her house to the TorranceLearning office so that she could be here with us today. Great. Well, thanks, everyone. We're really happy to have you here today as part of our presentation. We're going to be talking about the ABCs of book club. We've done a couple book clubs at TorranceLearning, and after our first book club meeting a few months ago, Megan had posted on LinkedIn about Molly and I starting book club, and we've had people reach out to us with questions. So we thought if they had questions, we thought you might too. So we want to share with you today some tidbits and takeaways that we've learned as we've begun and have been facilitating book club. So Liz, if you could advance. Great, thanks. So I'm Anthony Reisinger. I'm the TorranceLearning Learning Experience Design Team Lead. I'm happy to have joined the Torrance Learning team last summer. And Megan had approached me and asked if I would like to take the lead in working with Molly to manage the book club. So excited to be here today to be presenting with Molly. Molly, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Molly Merkel. I'm an instructional designer at TorranceLearning. I've been at TorranceLearning for about 2.5 years now. And this is my first book club experience. It's my first real facilitation experience as well. So it's been a really fun learning experience.
Great, thanks, Molly. Has anyone participated in a book club? If you have, why don't you type into the comments what books you might have read? We share some ideas with others as we go through our presentation today. Like our book club, today's presentation is very informal, so please feel free to ask questions or share ideas in chat. Any TorranceLearning team members that are on the line, please feel free to share your experience with book club as well. So these are the simple steps we took to get started with book club. Of course, choose a book, choose a facilitator, schedule the meetings, get the word out, then meet, right? So we're going to break down each one and talk a little bit more about it and how we did the book club at Torrance. So
Perfect. Thanks, Liz. So first up, you got to choose a book. So we've done 2 company-wide book clubs so far at TorranceLearning. And when we were picking our books for those, we had a couple things that we kept in mind for that. So we wanted books that support our business strategies, books that explore business changes that are of interest to our team, and books that address our team's learning needs. And then Liz, we can go to the next slide. So these are the 2 books that we've read so far. Anthony and I have been facilitating the book club for the book on the right, Fearless Organization. So to support our business strategies during these 2 book clubs, we wanted to make sure that we had books that were building blocks for inclusivity. So for Fearless Organization, I'll talk about that one since that's the one that Anthony and I are facilitating. A factor in choosing that book as part of that aspect of it being a building block was the topic of the book, which is building a psychologically safe workplace. And so that topic addressed some feedback that we got from a company engagement survey that suggested improving frank communication between our teams. So that's sort of a double whammy in a way, because we get to act on good insight from our team members, but it also helped give us a chance to show our team that the feedback is taken seriously, which also aligns with the broader inclusive goals of both the company and the book club in general. So that's pretty cool. And then just beyond looking for books that are relevant and engaging, we wanted books that would be easy to break into sections and that would support chapter by chapter engagement. So it can sort of allow participants to jump in and out as their schedules allow. And then lastly, books that are written at a level that's accessible and a good fit for our more laid back vibe with this book club. So you can change to the next slide, please, Liz. So then once you have the book, you need to choose a facilitator. And your facilitator doesn't really even necessarily need to have experience with the topic or with facilitation, although of course they totally can. Like I said earlier, for me, I'm new to facilitation. Psychological safety is a concept that I was vaguely familiar with because we had also talked about it a bit during our first book club with So You Want to Talk About Race that you saw on the last screen. But yeah, like I said, I had no experience with facilitation, and that's not even necessarily something that I normally gravitate toward, but it's been a really great learning opportunity for me, and it's been a really great opportunity to practice building some of those facilitation leadership skills. And it's also been really fun. So I think as long as your facilitator has some interest in the topic at hand, and most of all, a desire to develop their facilitation and leadership skills, those are really the biggest things you need. But like I said, an experienced facilitator doesn't hurt either. You can really go either way. So then in addition to running each meeting, as facilitators, Anthony and I have read the books in advance, and we've divided the book into manageable sections. So for example, we'll talk specifically about fearless organization for a second. Much of that book is case studies. So we don't necessarily ask people to read every single case study in every single chapter because that just lightens the load a little bit. And we're finding that actually a lot of people still seem to read the whole chapter in all of the case studies, but that way we aren't necessarily asking people to commit to more than they have time for. And that's also part of letting people have ownership of their experience at book club. So yeah, dividing it up into sections is an important process. And then the last big thing, sorry, Liz, the last big thing that Anthony and I have done to prepare for the meetings as facilitators has been to write discussion questions for each meeting. Now you can go to the next slide, Liz.
Oh, back one.
Perfect.
There we go. Thank you, Liz. Schedule meetings. You need to pick a cadence that works for your team. We were thinking about a cadence where we have enough time to complete the reading, but not too much time where people forget the reading. So we meet once per month, which is a pretty familiar rhythm for our team. We have meetings over lunch, which is typically easier for people to fit into their day. Some people already have lunch blocked out. Our meetings are really informal, so they can bring their lunch with them and eat while on the call. But it's worked out really well for us, and we've had really good attendance. Also need to choose a meeting format. We work mostly virtually, so we did choose to meet on Zoom. We block an hour for each meeting. But if the conversation starts to wane, we can certainly end the meeting earlier. However, we have found that we have not ended a meeting early yet. So people have been really engaged and participating. And then if for some reason you can't get together with your team, whether it be virtually or in person, you can hold book club asynchronously by facilitating discussions using Slack or other messaging platforms. Next slide, please. Ooh, back one. Yes, get the word out. So now you have decided the book and you're scheduling your meetings. You want people to attend, right? What good is book club if no one attends? So you want to promote to increase attendance, especially when attendance is optional. We do make our book club participation optional. We use Slack channel to post teasers like TED Talks by the author, reminders for upcoming meetings. We put the discussion questions out ahead of time so people can know the questions as they're reading through the book, so they can come prepared to answer. And you can also use Slack to provide additional supporting materials and encourage follow-up discussions. We also talk them up during our normal project meetings and team meetings, reminding people that book club is in a week or two. And then really important is to encourage management participation. So I would bring up book club and remind managers in our leadership team meetings that book club was coming up, encourage them to attend, and also ask them to remind their team members of book club.
Then it's finally time to meet. It's very exciting. So one of the things that we did with our first book club, again, with that other book you saw on the screen, so you want to talk about race, Jess Jackson facilitated that book club for us. One of the things that she did was she made sure to set really clear expectations at the very beginning to get everyone on the same page about what the goals were. So Anthony and I have tried to emulate that a bit. So at our first meeting, we took a little bit of time to set some clear expectations and talk about the goals of the book club. So, I mean, mostly we wanted participants to know why they're there. You know, why is this information valuable to them? Why is it valuable to the organization? What are we all hoping to achieve here together? How does their participation contribute to the book club's success? Stuff like that. And since part of our goal with the book club was to build communication and trust, we wanted it to be a sort of informal space. So that was another thing we talked about in our first meeting as part of that same goal. Throughout the book club, we have tried to use some discussion questions that encourage people to make connections to their lives outside of work, because that helps us sort of continue to build on our rapport with each other. And then participation is really what makes these meetings successful. So one thing that we haven't done, but is something you could do if you're worried about breaking the ice, is to ask a few people to prepare their answers to a discussion question prior to the meeting. So then you have someone on deck to get the conversation started. Like Anthony said, we've been really lucky and enjoying all of the participation we've been getting with our book clubs. So we haven't needed to do that yet, but it's something we've sort of had in our back pocket. And so we also do share discussion questions in Slack a couple weeks before each meeting, because that way people have a chance to mull over the question, not just right before the meeting or in the meeting, but while they do the reading. Yeah. Next slide, please, Liz.
Great. So here's a few takeaways, a few things that we've learned through book club. Make attendance optional. While it might seem counterintuitive to do this, if you want people to attend, it's really important to strike a balance between encouraging people to attend, but also allowing them to take ownership of their experience. And I kind of brought it up earlier, but encourage leaders to participate. Leaders participating sort of demonstrate the importance of everyone else being at book club. That being said, please remind leaders not to dominate the conversation. If people have ideas or opinions that are not in line with leadership, they might be less likely to participate. So it's great to be there and maybe start the discussion and put some in there, but not to dominate the discussion.
Yeah, and so then next we wanted to make it as easy as possible for people to participate. You know, people are really busy and we want to make it really easy on them since they're what make book club possible. So we've been using the Slack channel to send reminders, to try to remind people at internal meetings that book club is coming up. Sort of helps keep book club front of mind and helps people remember to do the reading if maybe they've been focused on other things for a couple weeks. So yeah, because book clubs really, they only work if people are willing to participate. So making sure that our team knows how much we value their time and effort to keep up with the reading and to engage in the conversation has been something we've been trying to maintain throughout. And then ask for feedback. So we have asked for feedback throughout, like midway through. That way we can sort of adjust for future meetings. We haven't done a formal survey We have checked in with people throughout the process to sort of see how they think it's going. And then we'll continue to check in with people once we wrap up the book to collect ideas for future books and future topics of interest. Taking that feedback seriously will help us improve the experience over time, and hopefully it will help make people want to come back, and hopefully it'll help everyone get more out of it. So, yeah, thank you. Next slide, Liz.
So what questions do you have? Liz, I believe we have, three minutes. I do see a question from Joey. What's your participation rate like? What percent of your organization, what percent of those that sign up participate in the first session? What percent participate in most or all the sessions? We've had pretty good participation. I would say, I think our first meeting was probably the best attended, but it's remained pretty consistent. On this last book, we've had three meetings already. In the last one, we actually moved for a week to make sure that everybody could attend, because the date that we had scheduled 3 months in advance didn't work for people because of project work. And it's really important for us to have as much participation as possible. So we did move it a week and did get better attendance. Percentage of the company that attends, I think it's probably, if I had to guess, I'd say around 75 to 80%. Your thoughts on that, Molly?
Yeah, I don't know a percentage there, but one of the things that I do like about it is even if we can't get everyone at every meeting, which is really, we never really expected that. It's not really realistic with people's schedules. We still are able to get a lot of good engagement from people at each meeting. And the fact that people are able to come in and out, I think, helps people ultimately come to more meetings, rather than feeling like if you miss one, it's like, well, I can't keep up with book club, so I'm just going to not participate in this one. So I hope people feel like they can come to meetings when they're able to make it. And if they have to skip it, that's okay. We understand. So that's sort of an indirect answer, sort of tangential, but I've appreciated that.
Yeah. Any other questions? I have a few extra minutes here. All right. Well, we really appreciate that you were all here today. We hope that we provided some helpful information. Liz, if you could go to the next slide. If you have any further questions or suggestions, please feel free to connect with Molly and I on LinkedIn, and we'd be happy to connect and answer those questions for you. So thank you, everyone, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anthony and Molly. I did see that there was a question in the Q&A. I'm not sure if you saw it or if you answered it, and it was Priya asking if you use it for filling a knowledge gap or for teaching a new skill. Did you answer that question?
Yes, missed that one. Sorry, Priya. Our book, I mean, the first one was really around like DEI, and the second one on psychological safety. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a new skill, so probably more of a knowledge gap. One thing that has been really cool, and one of the sort of signs of success, are that we hear team members in meetings or just a part of their daily conversation using some of the concepts that we've been learning as part of the book. So it's very rewarding when you know that people are getting from the book what you're hoping that they will get from the book. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I do see we have 4 minutes left, and we had 2 questions for Lisa Goldstein. I'm not sure if she can hear me. Lisa, if you'd like to come back on stage and answer those questions, we have a couple of minutes for you to jump back on. Okay, the first question is, what is your participation rate like? What percentage? Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, that one was for Anthony. This one was for you, Lisa. How did you deploy headsets and controllers to everyone? Oh, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. Sorry about that. So the headsets are being deployed by a team that we have working on it. So as I was saying earlier, we have over 700,000 employees. We're deploying 60,000 headsets in our pilot. It is only a handful of countries that are participating right now across North America, UK, etc. Fun fact that, and it's not because of Accenture, it's because of privacy reasons, privacy laws. But some countries like Germany, it's illegal for them to use the headsets. But what is not illegal, what is able to be used globally, is also a 2D version. So the application I was showing you earlier in video, you can actually participate, and I showed you proof of it, of how it would be done when we were walking around one Accenture park for new joiners. Um, People can participate in a 2D version. So, and that's open to anybody who wants to participate. I don't have handy how many people have been participating in 2D on the computers, but again, 60,000 people or 60,000 headsets are being included in our initial pilot, and we have a team who are allowing people to. We're opening it up to all the different countries that are available, and we promote into all of our communications and things. Everyone join Project Avatar, which is the way that they let us know that they'd like to get a headset. And then that team who's responsible for deploying them will send those headsets out to the individuals who said, please pick me. And that's a great system for us also during this pilot. Like I was saying earlier, we don't want anybody to be pushed a headset onto them and then it not get used. So we're looking for the excited individuals who will definitely put it to use.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for that. Does anybody else have any questions for either for Lisa, Anthony, or Molly? If so, you can put it in the chat.
Are we almost at that point where we might be able to hear the participants also, or is that coming next?
So as far as so I'm going to end the session in a couple seconds, and we'll go ahead and send everyone out to the lounge, at which point they can join table 1 or table 2, in which I think I'll say, Lisa, you can join table 1, and Anthony and Molly, you could join table 2. In case anybody has any questions, they can know where to reach you in the lounge. So since no one has any questions at the moment, let's go ahead and end the session, and we will see you back here for in 10 minutes for the next session. And again, feel free to join them in the lounge right now. Thank you, everyone.